You're listening to Passing Time, a Detroit Lions podcast. We're one pride and all grit, with a passion for Detroit Lions football. Whether you're between meetings, between classes, sitting in traffic, or just relaxing at home, if you have time to pass, pass it with Passing Time. Detroit Lions Talk.
Okay, we're on the clock, and you're passing time with us, a Detroit Lions podcast, episode 22, a very loaded podcast tonight. As you can see, the beautiful faces if you're watching us on YouTube. We're joined by a couple guests. We team up with Jason and Jacob from Talking Grit podcast. We're going to break down the Monday night clash coming up between the Lions and the Ravens. We're going to throw the last couple shovels of dirt on the Chicago Bears in the game from last week. We buried them already earlier this week, but there's a couple more shovels, Brian, that we gotta put down, and you know they're 6 feet under now, right?
Hey, if they're not 6 feet under, they're not far enough down. Let's roll.
Can the Lions stay hot against Lamar Jackson? Tame their scorching offense? It's a big question heading into the week. Will the Lions fans or will the Ravens put us Lions fans back on Xanax? You know, because a lot of us after week one we were there. You know, so kind of a quick parallel getting into this game. You know, made me think of something. So history is full of giants who seemed untouchable until they weren't. And I thought about the Lions and the Ravens and their clash last year and kind of their the way they're matching up for kind of their Super Bowl aspirations. And I thought of Joe Frazier living in the shadow of Muhammad Ali, taking loss after loss. And suddenly the unbeatable looked mortal. There was a the boxing match of a lifetime is when he stepped out of the shadow and finally took down, Joe Louis finally took it down, Muhammad Ali. And that's the energy we're tapping into this week. The Lions are looking to slay the dragon, and it's going to be a big, big game. So we're going to dive into key matchup storylines. You're not going to want to miss this. This is going to be fun. We got Jason and Jacob. For the listeners that follow us that don't know them, do you guys want to talk a little bit about your podcast yourselves, where you come from, and kind of introduce yourself to our tens of followers over here on Passing Time?
Oh, you guys are growing, man. First of all, appreciate you guys having us on. I'm glad that we get to return the favor. Brian was on our podcast. Rob, you were too scared to join. That's at least what Brian told us. But
he's right.
No, I think I see a lot of us and you guys, like the rapport that you guys have. And Jacob and I had that. We were working side by side. Not right now. We still work for the same company, just not side by side. Just talking Lions all the time. And we just decided, let's do this. I listen to Pride of Detroit a lot. They're one of my favorite Lions podcasts. Still enjoy listening to them. And when they went down for a little bit, I was missing a lot. And so that's when I told Jacob, let's do this. And we just kind of took off. And very similar timing to you guys, like over the off season, try to get our sea legs. And yeah, it's worked out really well. What did I miss, Jacob? That you have trouble putting up with me, or that you deserve a medal or something?
So what happened was he was looking for a podcast. Couldn't, the Pride of Detroit was not going on. He was like, who's the smartest person I know that could talk about Lions football? He's like, oh, wait a minute. I work with him. It's this guy right here. Yeah, so, it really just transitioned from us working and talking about it all the time at work to now we're talking about it on a microphone. It's pretty much the same kind of conversation. We talked in depth like that as we work in a pharmacy, as we're filling prescriptions, we're talking football, driving everybody else crazy. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's been a lot of fun so far.
That's awesome. And to your point, it's very similar to us. Brian and one of his colleagues, Brian, you tell the story.
Yeah, one of my colleagues, we work in education. We would, during passing time, constantly we're meeting up, we're finding each other, we're talking football, we're talking the Lions, and that's kind of how it was born. Well, he's still too scared to jump on camera, but we feature him every week with Bill's bullet points. And Rob, on the other hand, is not bashful at all. I don't know if you've noticed. But he's like, hey, I'm in. Let's go. And Rob's one of my really close friends. So we decided that this is a good excuse to hang out at least once a week and talk football, and let's roll.
Yeah.
the families were breaking bread. Brian and I were breaking bottles of bourbon. So it just seemed like a great thing to do after, 2 bourbons on a beautiful night out in Brian's paradise. So we got into it. So anyways, we're glad to have you guys. We're excited to have your take, your spin on things. And with that being said, let's throw some dirt on the Bears one last time. 52-21. It was a drubbing, right? And the Lions bounced back from a really difficult start. 1-1 in the season. Brian, do you want to kind of kick it off with your take here?
I mean, the Lions needed a bounce-back game, and I would say the Bears were the perfect one to bounce off of. So they rolled. They found their sea legs. John Morton looked good. The offense looked good. The defense is continuing to get better and improve. It was something that I was hoping for. I went into it anxious. I was nervous. Ben Johnson coming into Ford Field. Is he going to teach us a lesson, or are we going to teach him a lesson?
How about you, Jacob?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because you have Ben Johnson coming in with something to prove. It's like, how deep in his bag of tricks is he going to be pulling? What kind of stuff are they going to throw at us here? And it turned out not very deep. Pretty basic, pretty vanilla. Wasn't able to make much happen. So, I mean, huge division win outside of just the Ben Johnson stuff, but it just makes it that much sweeter to be able to take it to them.
Absolutely. And then, Jason, you look like you got something to say.
I always got something to say. I'll try to keep it brief here, but I think Brian was right. Anxiety was up, and it's not because a lot of it was because it was our second division game, and if we lost that, and I think some of it is because of the doing this podcast, like feel like you'd have to answer for it. Like there's just a lot of added pressure doing what we do, and I'm more in tune. Like I never used to get on Twitter before we had a podcast, and wow, it is eye-opening that people, after week one loss, how people lose their minds. It's like, no. And yeah, so this was the perfect recipe for getting everyone back on track in Lions football.
Yeah,
and not only that, but going into what is going to be one of our harder games in week 3, going into that there was pressure. So having a win at the very least coming out of Chicago, that Chicago game was pretty important.
Yeah. So after that game, what was your gut take? Like going into that game, we're nervous, right? After week 1, but after that game, are you thinking like, okay, the Lions are contenders or pretenders? Or are we still waiting to find out? And maybe Jason, you want to kick that one off first?
I mean, we're always contenders, right? Even if we'd have lost that game, we have too much talent on this team to not be a contender. However, it's early in the season. Everyone's still trying to prove it, and the Lions this will be a huge test this coming up week, as if we're going to, how whatever everybody outside of Detroit looks at us. And so even if we lose this game, it's not the end of the world, but yeah, it could go to a long way to moving up those power rankings, getting everybody's confidence back, looking forward to that Thanksgiving matchup against the Packers, which I just can't wait to bring the Packers fans back down to earth. So what about you, Jacob? Where are you at?
Oh, yeah. I think the only reason people were really nervous is just because the Micah Parsons trade happened. The Packers suddenly, have that resurgence. They have a dominant win against us. And, it also made it, I think, a little worse to see them have a dominant win against Washington on Thursday night before, because it was like, okay, they really got the ball rolling. They really got things together. And that made people think like, okay, are the Lions, now the Packers are the favorite, are the Lions even going to be able to contend? Obviously, we're still contenders. We're still in for it. We still have, plenty of games left. It's week 2. It's a long season. A lot of things can happen. I definitely think we're going to be in the thick of it the whole way through.
Absolutely. So kind of thinking about it, the offense back on track, right? Like, I mean, as fans, you guys talk about going on Twitter. Like, that's just something I can't do anymore. It's a cesspool of sin on Twitter. But, they want to fire John Morton right away, right? And it's just like, okay, now it feels like, wow, week 2 was, maybe Ryan pointed this out, a mix of Dan Campbell and John Morton, but it's always been a mix of Dan Campbell, right? So kind of thinking that the offense is back on track? Brian, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about it in our mini pod there the other day. It was seeing the offense kind of click, and it almost seemed like Dan's like, hey, these are the things that we do. These are the things that we do well. We're going to get back to it right now. We're going to communicate well. We're going to execute well, and we're going to go back to the things that we pride ourselves on: running the ball, stopping the run, and then we're going to take the top off as part of the process. And I mean, whether John Morton had his heavy hand in it or was Dan Campbell, I don't care. Let's just keep that thing going.
Yeah, I love it, man. And so let's talk about Ben Johnson a little bit more, because that's kind of, I think, emotionally for us Lions fans, that was a big deal, right? I mean, we lost this coordinator. He's turned into his own new version of himself. So he comes back to Detroit, gets 52 dropped on him. Lions are going for it on fourth downs. They're scoring at the end of the first half, and a little bit of controversy. And he storms off the field and doesn't give hugs to Jared Goff, and so he's kind of under this microscope. This is very interesting to me. This storyline, I think, is going to continue throughout the season. What was your take on Ben Johnson, and do you feel like he's feeling pressure after 2 games in Chicago?
I'll take it. Yeah, 100%. And he's realizing that he's stuck with Ryan Poles, who they just extended. That's a heavy anchor, in my opinion. So, yeah, and I don't know what he thought. Like if he's going to go there and it was going to be easy, I'm sure he didn't think that. But also, we saw Ben Johnson on our sideline, probably the most emotional coach, I would say, out of like Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell, even on the sidelines, usually pretty even keeled the whole time. Aaron Glenn could get fired up, but Ben Johnson would have a lot of facial expressions. So I'm sure that he was mad, and I don't think it's necessarily because the Lions ran up the score. It's just his team didn't perform, and now he's week 2. He's got 2 division losses. He realizes how tough this is going to be.
Right.
Brian, you want to throw one more shovel load on it?
Well, I mean, he wandered off that field and he was frustrated, obviously, and you saw it in his press conference after. He was still frustrated, and some of the press gave it to him, and like rightfully so. I mean, they gave it to him. He does have pressure on him, whether it's week 1 or week 2. But if you look back at what the Lions dealt with early on with Dan Campbell, and I think the reality is starting to set in a little bit more. I mean, there was a lot of big heads talking about the Bears jumping off because they got the Wunderkind, as coach, and all of a sudden we're going to have this success because Caleb Williams is talented and Ben Johnson's a genius, and together they got to be good, right? But the reality is their roster is still not where it needs to be in order to contend with teams like Detroit and teams like Green Bay, to be honest, and they're just going to be second, third, or fourth fiddle in the NFC North until they improve that roster.
But we spent all offseason, 15 podcasts, crowning them the national champions of the offseason, right? Like, and so I have a hard time here. So it feels like the pressure's getting put on Ryan Poles, and it's so when I spray my brand new driver into the woods, is that my fault or is it my new driver's fault? And I think the roster is decent enough. You look at Harbaugh, what he inherited last year with the Chargers wasn't a great roster, but he made them competitive right away. Though Ryan Poles did draft Colson Loveland, Luther Burden, his 3rd round pick, healthy scratch, 4th round pick, healthy scratch in week 1. Loveland had 0 catches. Burden had 0 catches. Their defense had a lot of holes. So that, to Jason's point, that was a Ryan Poles deal to me, of just not having adequate depth on that defense. Mm-hmm. Jacob, anything else you want to put a cherry on this one? Or?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about the Poles stuff, that's just why the Bears as an organization should have moved on instead of extending him. You just can't have a GM. You can't keep shuffling the GM, the quarterback, the coach, and not have new, at the same time. You want to have the GM, head coach, and the quarterback all on the same page, preferably all at the same time, then you have that excuse that, you know what, this is going to take time. This is going to be a rebuilding season. And, next year we're really going to compete. They don't have that luxury. They've already got Caleb. They've got Ryan Poles on an extension. They thought the missing piece was Ben Johnson, that they were just going to come in and tear it up. They're going to contend for the division right away. It's not going to be that easy. It's definitely going to still take time. And as far as him storming off the field and everything, as a competitive person, losing 52-21 has just got to kill you so bad, especially to, you're watching all your old friends celebrate. They're using your trick play as a celebration. They're really rubbing it in. They're just really rubbing it in the worst way possible. So I did not expect him to hang around after the game and talk and reminisce about old times. He wanted to get out of Detroit for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the Lions aren't. They're not shy, right? They're just a bashful group, and you talk about dragging teams into the deep end. They want to play that game. It's a little bit of mental warfare coming from Dan Campbell. So, anything else before we move on to Monday night? No? All right. Let's talk. Let's talk about Monday night. This is, for a week 3 game, you come off 2 division games, which are very, very big. I mean, the opening schedule for the Lions is a tough road. But now we got Monday Night Football. All eyes are on the Detroit Lions and the Baltimore Ravens. Is this a statement game or just another kind of week 3 measuring stick for the Lions? And Jacob, you were getting hot there, so I want to go back to you because you seem like you're getting a little fired up.
Right. No, so it's a statement game because of the way the last game against Baltimore went. Right? So you go back a couple seasons ago, the last time we played the Ravens, we were 5-1 at that point. The season was looking up. We were finally where we thought we were going to be. We were finally competitive. We were going to play a team like the Ravens. And it's like, this is our chance to show them what we're made of. And to fall flat in the fashion that we did and lose, such a huge loss that game really, took a lot out of the team. It probably made us better. I mean, because, we kind of got smacked in the mouth. We had to respond, made the rest of the season go okay. But this is definitely something I'm sure everyone really remembers, that last Ravens game. We want to come back. We are in the same situation. We want to prove that we're a top team because we are a top team. So we've got to take it to the Ravens. We've got to beat these teams. We have a very tough schedule. It's not getting much easier. Coming off the momentum between the last game, definitely we're shooting for the stars here, and we got to take it to them.
Mm-hmm. B-Mikes?
Hey, man, I think this is a very winnable game. I mean, I think the Lions are going to be in all of them here moving forward. It's going to be, can we contain Lamar Jackson, and can we stop the run? If we can do those 2 things, I am not afraid of the Ravens defense, and especially without Cal Vanoy on that defense. I am not afraid of the Lions offense after a week 2 going into the Ravens defense. What I'm a bit afraid of is Lamar Jackson both covering this up if he has to stay in the pocket and being mobile and be able to hit the edge. So those are things that I'm afraid of. I honestly think that we're going to contain Derrick Henry, but the Ravens have proved that they don't need Derrick Henry to win games.
Mm-hmm. It's tough. At the beginning, you say, if we can contain Lamar Jackson, and nobody's been able to really do that. I mean, he's had a couple of clunkers, but he is, I would say Lamar Jackson, you don't want to throw the elite term around a whole lot, but Lamar Jackson is elite.
He's elite. And the reality is he's playing already in week 2 at MVP caliber football. And if he continues this, that's scary for not just the Lions, but the NFL. So.
Mm-hmm. And Jason, you think this is kind of a statement game, or are we making this bigger than it really is?
So I think for the Lions players, this is a statement game for them. I think in the locker room, I think it absolutely is. Brian Branch, in getting the game ball, immediately says, just after winning 52-21, says, we have Baltimore next. And so they've already been thinking about it. And I don't think it's like a fact of they're making it bigger and putting more pressure on themselves. They're looking forward to this, to say, this is it. The core was there when we got shellacked 2 years ago. They remember that. The team of these players won't forget that, and Dan Campbell won't let them forget that. I'm sure he's going to have all that stuff up there. And Dan Campbell, the game plan was not good in that game 2 years ago, and they got behind right away. Coaches aren't going to let them down. So this is a revenge game. Just like I think last week with the Bears, they had a little bit extra on there. The Ben Johnson thing, week 1, the offense isn't there. People are saying Johnny Moe. Like, they carry those things and this bulletin board stuff, and they don't need that stuff necessarily. But I'll take any edge I can with the Ravens because that is a tough team.
And any team needs that bulletin board stuff. Any team is going to do what they can in order to put something on the wall to just give you that extra little edge and that extra little extra in order to compete against a really good team.
And I'll hedge here, and this is going to be just a sucker's take, but like, I think it's a statement win. If the Lions can get this win, it's a statement win, but a loss doesn't sink you. There's a lot of time to recover. You get 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks down the road, and you think a lot less about this, and you analyze it a lot less. But a win just plants the flag. Like, you just beat an AFC elite team, one that's going to be right there. I mean, they had the Bills right where they wanted them, right? So just a win here is going to be a statement win, but a loss isn't going to sink you as long as it's a very competitive loss.
Exactly.
Hedge of all hedges.
Think about this, guys. One of these two teams is going to be 1-2 after this week.
That's crazy.
Either
right?
way, you wouldn't expect Baltimore's had. We both had like really tough, like week 1 and week 3 matchups. They faced Buffalo. We got the Packers. Week 2, they had the Browns. We had the Bears. That's very similar. And then week 3, we got each other. So one of those teams is going to be, outside the tie possibility, but one of them is going to be 1-2. And I don't think it sinks it for either one of those teams. However, I do like it that we're going on the road. So if we lose, it's, it doesn't seem as big of a deal to me.
Are you giving the Packers the same flowers that you're giving the Buffalo Bills there? You're kind of putting them in the same sentence. Are you thinking that
they're a tough matchup? I can tell you that.
Yeah. Any other? Brian, are you? What do you think? You think the Packers are right up there with the NFC elite teams, or do you think that was just a really good game and a poorly played game by the Lions?
I think that we have to give the Packers their credit until they prove otherwise. Right now, they played 2 teams from last year, and they played them very, very well, and they made both of them look pretty silly. So I would say that in what they've shown and what's on tape right now, that's a good team.
Mm-hmm. So Baltimore's put up 40 plus twice, right? What are some of the keys for the Detroit Lions to slow them down a little bit? And I think the Lions have the ability to get into a high scoring game with another team, but it is tough to overcome giving up a 40 spot and still win the game.
I'll field it. So This reminds me of the Buffalo game last year, except for we have our horses on defense. And what this is going to take, because you've already said, Brian, Derrick Henry, Lamar, you're not going to be able to stop them, right? We need to steal a possession. We need to get a turnover. We need to, hopefully they have like a holding penalty that sets them behind the sticks and we could get them to punt. All we need to do is steal 1 or 2 possessions. We have the offense to score. And I'm not as worried about their defense as I am their offense. And it reminds me a lot of the Buffalo game. And we hung with them even with our practice squad defensive players.
With duct tape and toothpicks, So.
Yeah.
Yep. What do you think, Jacob?
Oh, yeah. It's funny because we almost just have to do what the Browns did, right? The Browns' defensive game plan was fine. They wanted Lamar to throw the ball, and he ended up having a great game throwing the ball. But, the Ravens rushed for 45 yards as a team against the Browns. They did not win the time of possession. They were horrible on third down. The difference between that game last week, I think it was like 10-3 at the end or 10-3 at halftime. Was it 10-20 or something at the fourth quarter? And then all of a sudden you see the final score and you think they just blew them away. It really wasn't that, far off. And the difference is we have a much better offense than the Browns do. So we're going to be putting the pressure on them. They can't, keep dancing around forever. And, I think we have a defensive line. We have the linebackers to slow down Derrick Henry. My big thing is just stopping them on third down. Don't let them have those third and long situations, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, and let Lamar scramble for a first down or play off coverage. Don't drop Aiden Hutchinson and Davenport into coverage, which we didn't do that last week. But, just don't get too cute with it. Go with what we know, be who we are, and I think it's going to be okay. I think we're going to compete.
Absolutely. And the reality is that those 3rd and long conversions are demoralizing to a defense too. So, keeping the morale as high as possible on defense, continuing to score on offense. If, Jason, you said it, man, if we can steal a possession, if we can steal 2 possessions, that's going to be key. But we're going to put a lot of weight and a lot of energy into our offense, and we're going to require them to be clicking on all cylinders, really. So.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier said than done, though. I mean, Lamar Jackson hasn't turned the ball over this season, right? I mean, you saw Derrick Henry's fumbled, obviously, in a very big spot, but Lamar is taking good care of the ball, which early in his career was one of his Achilles' heels. But he is in that John Harbaugh offense. I mean, John Harbaugh team, he really stresses like ball control, being able to run the ball and picking your spots for shots downfield. So it's easy to say steal a possession. The Lions are just as prone to lose a possession because of the style of football they like to play. What's more stressful, watching the Lions defense try to stop Lamar or parallel parking downtown Detroit on a busy day?
Oh.
Are your kids in the car screaming?
Yeah, of course they are, man.
Line full of traffic? Yeah.
Yeah, they're eating crackers and crumbs are all over the floor and your wife's yelling at you and all the things.
All right. I'm going with that.
So Detroit opens up as an underdog in this one. Do you guys think that's disrespectful, fair, I mean, the national media wasn't as on Detroit going into this season as they were in past seasons, and a lot of people saw that week 1 game. Where are you guys at on and maybe I'll get a little bit more into that. So to give you a little fodder here, the line opened up at Lions were getting 5.5. And 1-800-GAMBLER, this is not gambling advice here. But now the line's down to 4.5. Also, the over-under is at 52. So Vegas is kind of predicting a 28-24 type game. What thoughts on that? Maybe we'll start with you, Jacob.
I get it. I guess it's kind of fair. I mean, it's funny because now I want to see what the line would have been had we lost to the Bears. I mean, would they have given them like 10 points? What are we talking about here? But, we are on the road. The Ravens are playing at home. The Ravens are a top team. I think they also probably have to think about what happened last time that we played, even though it was 2 years ago. But I would say that's probably on par for around what it should be. I mean, you would expect maybe 3.5, but 4.5, whatever. Give them an extra point. We're going to cover. What do you got, Jason? What do you think?
Brian? Or go ahead, Jason.
Go ahead, Jason.
All right. I'm not. This is not disrespectful. It's early in the season. The coordinator line is out there, and I always remember these lines don't mean Vegas thinks that Baltimore is better. It means they're trying to get the most money that they can on either one of these teams. So that's, the perspective is that Lions are still got 2 new coordinators, and how dare you try to win with 2 new coordinators and all that national media junk. And Baltimore scored 40 plus in both of their games. So no disrespect, they're a good team, but hopefully we could change the narrative after this game.
Yeah, I mean, Jason said it, Jacob said it. I would agree. I am, still worried that the Lions are going to be. Are they going to be to the Ravens level going into this game? Are they going to be more Green Bay game, or are they going to be more Chicago game, or are they going to be somewhere in the middle? And they have to be clicking. They have to be going if they want to be able to stay with the Ravens' high-powered offense. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a couple interesting things to think about this week is Brian, you mentioned it. Kyle Van Noy dealing with a hamstring injury. I think he's currently listed as questionable. I don't know if that's been upgraded, if you guys have seen anything different.
The first practice report will come out tomorrow, so
Yeah.
we'll know more then. But the last thing I saw was it was unlikely he was going to play.
Yeah.
Lions also signed former Ravens quarterback / wide receiver Malik Cunningham, and the rumor has it is he's kind of playing his Lamar Jackson role and showing the Ravens offense here. Is this 3D chess, or are we making too much of this, Brian?
Every edge, every little piece, whatever you can do to gain a small advantage is what they're going to do. And I like it. I mean, it's a good move. I mean, you have an extra spot on your roster. You might as well utilize it with somebody that might have some intel and that could emulate not nearly close, but emulate a little bit more than Kyle Allen is going to be able to emulate, Lamar Jackson. So.
Mm-hmm. Jason, you agree there?
Yep.
Okay.
Why not take the edge? And we didn't have anyone on our team that was closely athletic enough. Like, we would have had to pull a wide receiver. Or
they're going to put Dominic Lovett back there to play
exactly.
Lamar Jackson,
Yeah,
So
at least this guy's thrown a football before. So, and he was college not roommates, but teammates with Lamar. Knows the game. Was on the Ravens as well. So, yeah, why not? I'm sure his stay here won't be very long, but hopefully we can download everything we need to this week and for good showing on Monday.
Yeah.
That's got to be a weird situation
Jacob,
for him, right? Like, I mean, do they call him like, hey, we need you, you're going to help us out on our practice squad for literally 1 week, less than 1 week. You'll be back on the street probably on Tuesday. But we need intel on Lamar. We need you to, his traits, the way he moves and everything like that. We need you to be Lamar for practice. Right? I think that's a weird dynamic for him, but I mean, he's trying to get paid.
you got to get paid.
Right.
I mean, you're either sitting on the couch hanging out, not getting paid, or you're coming to a team and getting a paycheck. So
Can we trust him? He's not going to give us bad information.
No.
I think the Lions are pretty good at kind of the scouting. They're probably looking for a couple nuances. To your guys' point, having somebody that can move to simulate that a little bit in practice is certainly going to be something helpful for them. So talk about offensive matchup. Oh,
Sorry, man. The Lions brought Malik in a couple weeks ago for a workout, so they were already like playing the long game here. They weren't necessarily going, hey, out of the blue, we're calling up Malik saying they can't come on in. They had this kind of like in the works.
and nobody's else probably calling Malik, right? So like, I mean, I don't know if you're shooting your shot at a girl at the lunch table and nobody else is. She's like, you know what? Like, sure, like I'll meet you for coffee, and like I don't know, maybe you could tell a funny joke and get her to go out with you one more time, right? Like, or maybe that's what it is, and you're going to be looking for another direction right away. So let's get into the offensive matchup. Ravens off to a strong start, multiple TDs, efficient performance. Can the Lions keep pace, avoid turnovers, and exploit what seems to be like a weak Baltimore secondary? And maybe, Brian, you want to get into that a little bit and throw some insight into that.
This Lions offense is dangerous. I mean, if you have a J-Mo who's taking the top off, if you have an Amon-Ra Goff connection that is unmatched, and now you are starting to add in a Tesla who is making some one-handed amazing catches. So if you need a one-handed catch, you're calling Tesla in there. You're not even talking about Sam Laporta, who I would say had a down game, but Brock Wright had an up game, and then you're also contributing the run game on top of that. This offense is scary to any defense, whether it's a Green Bay or the Ravens. And when they're pumping on all cylinders, this is going to be something that's going to score points. They're not going to be able to necessarily stop this offense. They're just going to be able to try to contain it, and they're going to try to outscore it. And I think that's what we're going to see. So
Dan's going to be Dan and go for it and take extra possessions on the offensive side. And I'm sure that goes into this week, and John Morton knows the calls. That changes your third down calls.
Yep.
Maybe you run Amon-Ra again, Jacob, on a third down. You do that?
It worked.
It
worked.
Once.
Once.
But no, it's just something we talked about on our show on Monday, just the thought process on that. But, yeah, they're going to go in and, Rob, when we were talking about stealing possessions, going forward on fourth down, that's a way of stealing a possession. Stopping them on a turnover downs, that's a way of stealing a possession. So it's not that Lamar has to throw interception. That's just those are stealing possessions for me. You're extending things.
That's a good point.
We'll
Yeah. What about on the defensive side of the ball? So containing dual threat quarterbacks. That's that gives me anxiety. I might pop one of those Xanaxes I had to use after week one. But what are your thoughts there on what the Lions can do to kind of contain Lamar Jackson and also pay respect to Derrick Henry?
Well, you want to try to keep him in the pocket,
Jacob?
make him be a pocket passer, right? We don't want to over pursue. We don't even want to give him that opportunity to run straight up the middle. We do have a pretty good group of linebackers, but I don't think that you could just say, Jack Campbell, we're going to have you spy on Lamar. If Lamar takes off, if you don't have an angle, Jack Campbell's not going to catch up to him. None of them are. So you just have to be smart with it. You have to play contain. You want to collapse the pocket, but just don't give him any of these running lanes. And that's something that, I think Shep obviously has that at the top of his list of what they're going to do in this game. I think you let the defensive line, you let the linebackers do their thing, especially with Branch, the way that Branch has been playing in the run game. I think we're going to put the pressure on Henry. It's just, bend, don't break. They're going to wear us down. Derrick Henry's going to get his carries, especially coming off last week where Henry had like 25 yards or something. I know he's hungry for more. We don't want to be on the receiving end of one of these 90-yard touchdown runs. And I don't envision that we will be, but definitely, crash down in the box. Make them beat us in the air. I'm okay with the matchups. I'm okay with having DJ Reed on Zay Flowers and Terry on Bateman. Hopkins is past his prime. I don't think that they're going to beat us consistently.
Terrion's been under a little bit of scrutiny. His numbers are not quite where we thought they would be. That could be a question mark. Brian made a good point. Tyleek just had a breakout, week 2 performance when you talk about stopping the run. Brian, you just still excited about that, and kind of what's your take there?
No, I think he is exactly what the Lions want him to be. I think that he is a crush the can kind of guy. He is a filling up 2 gaps. He's a taking on double teams, triple teams, and allowing backers to flow. He is a dude that, he might not get sacks, but he's doing the dirty work that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. And we want him to continue to do those things. So, if he is able to continue that, if DJ Reader we can balance his reps with Roy Lopez, and we can still get pressure, through stopping the run, I think we're going to be okay. I think the tricky, or not even tricky, I think the highlight that we're going to start looking at right now is Brian Branch and what kind of role he's going to play. Is he going to be the spy on Lamar Jackson? Is he going to be, tagged to Lamar one-on-one and figure out what he's going to do? Is that going to be the matchup that we want to see? Because I think anybody on this defense, it's going to be Brian Branch that can try to contain Lamar Jackson for some extent.
I like it.
Branch is not fast though, but what he lacks in total speed is his instincts. He could diagnose a play. If you watch that fumble that he caused, the first fumble, the one that wasn't called back on penalty, he just shot through there and knew the play was a run play before anybody else did. And
he's a missile.
Yes.
The guy is not afraid to throw his body around by no means. And I'm gonna say that Lamar Jackson's, I would say, getting tagged once or twice by Brian Branch, and he might think twice about crossing that line of scrimmage. So,
well, Anthony Richardson felt Brian Branch last week, and then he wasn't, or last year he wasn't the same after that.
Yeah.
I want to touch a little bit on what Tyleek, what you said, because I think he's going to be really key to this game.
Mm-hmm.
The batted down passes is another way that he had 2 last week. Justin Rogers threw out the stat that no Lion last year had 2 the whole season, and he had 2 in his second game. And when Jacob and I were doing our all-22 film review, something we do on Mondays afterwards, there was multiple times that Tyleek had rush lanes that to get to the quarterback faster that he did not. He stayed back and kept Caleb contained, because there was times where he could have went by his guy and then the whole middle of the field would have been wide open. And Tyleek changed his direction, kept his guy in front of him, and that will never show on the box score. You'll never see that. But it saved a 10-yard run. It saved Caleb Williams from running up the middle. And with Lamar Jackson, it's going to be the same thing. He may not get in for a sack, but we just need to, if he could be strong enough, push his guy back into Lamar or just stay in front of him, get his hands up, knock down a pass. Those lead to interceptions, boys. If you get the ball up in the air, that can lead to a turnover.
Yeah, Jason, that's just a brilliant point, and that's why you guys, if you're not following their podcast, that's what they're bringing to the table. I mean, that's some in-depth stuff, some good observations right there, and it's frankly really exciting. When I think about the Lions, one of the things I think that they could get burned on is maybe over pursuing the quarterback. And when I think about that, I think about Aiden looking for. He's more of a stat box filler kind of guy. He's looking for that sack, and that can get exploited by a running quarterback, knowing that's out there on the edge. So we're talking a lot about players here. If you had to pick one X factor for Detroit in this matchup, who do you think it is? And give me your name and tell me why. And Jason, you start. You're hot right now.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
There's so many people that I want to say. Branch comes to mind, but I'm going with Gibby. I want Gibby. I think he is so dynamic. He had 94 yards, a quiet 94 yards. I mean, I know he had that 42-yarder. He's been quiet at Packers. He had his first touchdown of his career versus the Ravens. Let's just let him, restake his claim in Baltimore. So I'm going with Gibby.
Okay. Brian, what do you?
I already said Brian. Branch. I think that he is the guy that is going to be sideline to sideline, end zone to end zone. He is going to be on Lamar Jackson's booty, and he is going to make his presence felt.
Mm-hmm. Jacob, you can't use those names, so if that's what you're thinking,
okay. Both good answers, but I'm gonna go with J-Mo actually. Especially, he had a good performance last week, but he only had those 2 catches. 108 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Amon-Ra had the 3 touchdowns. Of course, Amon-Ra is going to be an X factor. He's going to be somebody that the defense has circled. They're going to have to pay attention to Amon-Ra, and I just think that J-Mo's going to be able to break loose again. I think that J-Mo's going to have a much better game this week than he did last week. And last week he had 100 yards and a touchdown. I think J-Mo's going to have a big day.
Jason touched on.
Rob, you can't get out of this. Who do you got?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to be long-winded, and I'm going to give you my answer here. But I want to just highlight. Let's go back to a couple comments ago on Jason. He talked about Tyreek doing some things that don't show up in the box score, right? Not rushing the passer, not over pursuing. I think J-Mo does so many things with his speed that don't show up in the box score. So whether it's 2 catches for over 100 yards, and yes, J-Mo, he's pretty proud of averaging 50 yards a catch. But what he's doing is helping Amon-Ra, who is I don't want to throw the word elite around, but one of the elite route runners in the NFL, and him and Goff are just, when they're on the same page, that is just a tough tandem to stop. So J-Mo creates a lot of that with his speed, and if they do bracket somebody like Amon-Ra, J-Mo is going to make him pay. And there are so many mouths to feed. So, Gibbs, he hasn't been able to, cook as much, right? So, is this going to be his opportunity? That's really exciting. For me, this is, again, another boring take, but, you're going in here with a new coordinator, right? But you got Jared Goff, right? And he is the straw that stirs this drink on the offense. So I think he's the X factor. If he can make really good decisions and take the mismatches, right? If they're going to take this away, he's going to go to that, and he's going to be making out so many decisions out there. So I think he's, and he is also, as Lions fans, we know that he's good for a clunker every once in a while. So if he goes in there and has a very efficient game, he runs the offense. If it's a track meet, he gets the Lions into a track meet. If it's not, we get Montgomery in there. We're doing a little bit more ball control. I think he's going to be the X factor for the Lions, and it's a very boring prediction. But speaking of predictions, can we use this segment right here to talk a little bit about predictions on the game? And I put Jason right on the spot. Brian, you're like a dog on a leash. You got something you want to say, man?
No, I'll hold back. I'll stay on my leash for a second.
Okay, all right. Then Jacob, it's just going to have to be you. Predictions for the game.
I'm superstitious about actual predictions. I don't want to put actual numbers out there because I feel like it's going to jinx the team. So
Okay.
my prediction is that it's gonna be over. You said the over underline was like 54 or something like that. I think it's gonna be over. I think it's gonna be a higher scoring game.
Okay.
Which is funny because last week I said it was like over under was like 46. I said under. I was like, I think that we're gonna grind out the Bears. It's gonna be like a long. That was not the case at all. But no, this time I definitely think it's gonna be higher scoring. So that's the prediction I'm going with, is that it's gonna be over 54.
Okay. We're not going to put a gun to your head and make you. Superstitions are real, man.
Oh yeah, no. You ask Jason. I am very superstitious about this stuff. So
Yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
I'm just a little suspicious. So, so I guess I'm going to go next, and I'm going to go. Man, I mean, I've been leaning on even my preseason predictions. As this one was an L. But coming off of what we just saw with the Chicago Bears and the offense starting to flow and Goff really coming into his own and his connection with guys like Amon-Ra and gives, like you said, a quiet 94 yards. I'm going to give this one to the Detroit Lions, but I'm going to stick with Jacob. I'm going to say the over. I mean, this is going to be a shootout. I think it's one or two possessions that the Lions steal, and they are able to sweep this one out.
All right. Well, it's on me now, right? Okay. I
Don't be the downer. Come on, don't be the downer.
I don't want to be a downer. I can't. This is why we don't pick on our show, because I could never pick against the Lions. So, and if I picked against the Lions and we lost, Jacob would have my hide. So I'm going.
as soon as they
Lions,
kneel down, I'd be like, Jason, it's your fault.
Yeah, exactly. 37-34. We stopped them in the red zone once to give us the edge on this one. So that's what I'm going to say. 37-34. It is going to hit the over. It's going to be a fun game. Monday night's going to be fun. You know what's not going to be fun, boys, is trying to go to sleep after this game.
Oh boy, I will be on my guys' fall golf trip, so I'm gonna be just fine. I got no kids to wake up to in the morning, man. My head can be a little bit pounding, and I'm gonna be all right. So, I don't, my superstition is to not be superstitious, and that's actually the truth. So when I start feeling myself be superstitious, I'm like, no, I'm leaning the other way. But one thing in my my unit's like $2. I'm betting, right? But one thing we do with our friends is if all my friends, and you guys are my friends, whether you don't feel the same way, are all on one side, the over and the Lions, my thing is like, no, I'm fading the general consensus on something, and I want to go the other direction. I want to go, but again, it's hard to bet against the Lions, but I do have this this is going to be a loss for the Lions. It's a tough game. Baltimore has already they've learned tough lessons this year. That they're a good team, a lot of continuity, all three phases. We don't talk about Baltimore special teams, even though they've parted ways with their stained kicker. But they always play. I mean, John Harbaugh is a special teams coach at heart, so they're good in three phases. And Lamar is just the boogeyman to me. So I'm gonna take I think the Ravens are going to give the Lions fits, and I'm going to call for a low-scoring game, but the Ravens win, which seems bizarrely odd, and roast me on your show, on this show, because that I don't feel good saying that.
Will you please roast him? Will you please roast him?
Well, now if it happens, it's his fault.
Yeah, do it right now. Yeah.
If it happens, it's his fault.
We're off. The blame is now on you, Rob. It's on you.
I love it. I love it. So let's just say, okay, what are the headlines going to read in the national papers the next day? And if I'm writing the headlines based on your predictions, and then I'll hedge out of this, the headlines based on your predictions are, should Baltimore shake things up? Is Zach Orr the defensive coordinator that we thought he was going to be? Because, the Ravens offense is putting enough to win, and we're 1-2 right now, right? And this is our window as Ravens. So that's the headlines that you guys kind of predicted in there.
Right.
But Any take on headlines for the national media? The USA Today, or I don't know what the kids are reading these days, but what's your take there?
You got one, Brian, or
Yeah, I'm going to go with Lamar makes a critical mistake, right? I think that if this is the game that the Lions are able to pull out and have a victory, it's because Lamar had one critical mistake along the way, and we exploited it. So
I I think Baltimore's been through this before. They're like a good franchise, and I contrasted with what we just experienced after our week 1 loss, where everyone just went crazy and thought that the sky was falling and whatever. So I don't know if Baltimore really like it. It goes crazy for them if they're down. I mean, if I go in to tell you that I lost to the Bills and the Lions, I mean, that's nothing to be ashamed of, right? So I don't know what the national headline is, but I could tell you that for Detroit, like if we lose again, then it's Packers are going to pass us, right? Can we catch up to them and all that stuff? But I don't know. I don't think Baltimore has anything to be ashamed of if they were to lose this game.
Using that same methodology, I mean, the Lions would have lost to the Green Bay Packers and the Baltimore Ravens, 1 and 2, which are two very respectable teams. I'm not ready to give the Packers the same kind of flowers and put them in the same vein as the Buffalo Bills. I think they're a solid squad, but I'm not ready to go there yet. Those are two quality losses if that were to happen, but also one really quality win. But Jacob, you got thoughts there? This is not prediction. We're not putting numbers on it. We're just putting headlines on it.
I think the headline is going to be the same. Whatever team wins, it's going to be like they got a much-needed win. They look like a good team. They look like a contender. 2-1. The sky's the limit. They're looking up. Whoever the loser is, it's going to be the opposite end. They fall to 1-2. Is it cause for concern? Should we sound the alarm already? Is this team going to be able to come back and make the playoff? That's exactly how the national media is going to swing this. Despite the fact that, the 2 losses would have came to 2 good teams, that's just how they're going to spin it. And especially if the Lions come out on the losing end, we're going to hear all about the coordinators again. There will be something that have happened during the game, some 4th down try that we didn't get, and now they're mad at Dan Campbell for it, or, they will find something to exploit for the Lions. But I do think that the Ravens probably will get some of that flack too if they lose. Because it is 1-2. I mean, you're starting off 1-2. You don't want to be 1-2. Losing record right away. So,
yeah, I mean, East Coast it's a harsher take out there. So I agree. We're in the world of like the Detroit Lions, and we read the comments. We feel the harsh criticism. To Jason's point, it feels like the sky was falling after week 1. But I do think that they're facing nationally the same scrutiny as the Lions would face with the 1-2 record. That being said, I want you to put your creative hats on here, and I want you to kind of project something. Brian had this really good question, and having some fun trying to come up with my own answer as well. But give me your boldest prediction for the Lions in the next 3 weeks forward. Maybe something that's a little bit outside the box. And then, Jacob, I'll put the pressure on you. Just kind of a prediction of what's to come in the next 3 weeks. Maybe a guy steps up, something happens with a roster.
Everything that's coming to my mind right away doesn't feel bold enough. It just feels like, well, that could happen. The first thing that jumped out is that I just think that we're going to see more of Tesla. I think he's going to be getting more targets, more catches. Obviously 2 games, 2 catches, 2 great catches. Obviously, unbelievable. I think that we're going to start seeing him be more involved in the offense in the coming weeks, which is hard to say, and maybe that's bold just because, I think, Rob, you mentioned it earlier, there are so many mouths to feed. There's not too many targets to go around, and I'm hoping that doesn't come, at the expense of somebody getting injured or anything like that. But I just think that, we traded Tim Patrick, we made room for him, and we got to start using him more.
Yeah, I like that take, and he's blocking out there. When he's out there, you see your eyes are attracted to his aggressiveness and blocking. Like somebody's going to throw a punch at that guy just because of how hard he's blocking. But I like that take. Jason, you have thoughts there? Next 3 weeks, kind
of. My bold is that the national media is going to be talking about the Lions' defense in 3 weeks, and
Oh,
not that the offense is bad, but that the defense is playing that good that they're going to realize that if we're not just offensive juggernaut, we have pieces on our defense, and so I think the defense starts getting their flowers. And yeah, that's my. I'm hoping, and that's what I'm predicting too, because I think I saw it in the Bears game. Actually, they played really good outside of a few plays in the Packers game, some third down stuff. So if we get that fixed, this defense is really scary.
Brian and I talked a lot about that in the offseason, how this is going to be, I think Brian said this is going to be a top 10 defense, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong and then get right into your kind of bold prediction. This is your question, so I'm expecting something a little bit spicy here from you.
No, to be honest, I post this for everybody else, and I should have thought about my answer for myself. But the bold prediction is Jared Goff is probably right back in the MVP race, and with his performance after week one, who was efficient but just didn't get the win, and week two, who is elite, and I just think that he just continues to build from week two on in the next 3 weeks, and we're talking about not necessarily Josh Allen and maybe not necessarily Lamar Jackson, but we're talking about Jared Goff in that spot. So
Love to see that.
I would love to see that. So I tried to be bold here, and I've underperformed some of my previous takes. So I really thought long and hard. And the NFL isn't a league that has big blockbuster trades, right? Like you see it at the trade deadline in Major League Baseball, you see it in the NBA. But the NFL's got kind of a watered down version of the trade deadline where there's some things that happen, but nothing too spicy typically. But I think the Lions are going to make a trade. And I think they're going to mortgage a little bit of the future because they're in win now mode and they're seeing some of the warts on the team, whether it's maybe on the edge. I don't necessarily think that's it too, but obviously on the offensive line, there might be some things that they can sew up. So maybe they can package something in the future to bring a guy in on a deal that's not going to kill them from future signings, because we know that there's a lot of money that needs to get doled out over the next year or two to kind of maintain this roster. So the Lions are going to make a big trade before the deadline.
Can I throw a name out there?
Oh, yes, please.
yep.
All right. Could be Trey Hendrickson's head may rear up with Joe Burrow being out. So now you're thinking because he's already been paid his bonus. I think he's only owed like $16 million on the year. So you'd be on the hook for like 8 of that. And would you give up a second round pick for Trey Hendrickson? And you mortgage a little bit of your cap space. I don't know if the Bengals would want more than that. They don't really have a lot of leverage. I guess they could do the franchise tag. Now you could say, well, they're going to get a comp pick back. Well, the problem is that comp pick would be like 2 years away, whereas you could get a second round next year, which is a lot, quicker and worth more. So I think that's going to. I think especially with Joe Burrow being out, if they start to tank, you could have that talk. And I think it's a lot more palatable at $8 million a year than it would have been at the beginning of the year when we would have had to pay the $30 million, because we would have been on the hook for the new contract.
I love that. Very, very spicy. Would the Lions get a comp pick if they didn't retain the rights to him? Okay.
Yeah, because he'd be on our. The comp pick formulation is very complicated. It matters how many free agents we sign versus how many sign for the other. But he's going to be an elite free agent, so he puts you in the third round comp pick. But it's the end of the third round, so it's not it's. But it'd be nice to. Third rounders are good. Tesla's a third rounder, and I'll take another Tesla.
Yeah.
And we lost a few third round picks acquiring him, so it'd be nice to stack one of those back.
Yep.
I like that. So that kind of gets into maybe the next segment where we're going to talk a little bit about around the NFL and Joe Burrow's injury. What is the Bengals' outlook? Are they turning into potential sellers? And maybe that's what you're thinking there.
The Bengals are in trouble. It's an offensive league, and they still have Jamar Chase, who's elite wide receiver, and you could give him a 5 yard out and he'll take it to the house because he is just that type of wide receiver. So they're going to be able to steal some games, but let's not act like the Bengals didn't have their problems before Joe Burrow went out. Their defense is terrible. They couldn't protect Joe Burrow, so are they going to be able to protect Browning? I don't know too much about Browning, if he's mobile or not or anything like that, but he's, yeah, they're the Bengals will be in trouble, and they might. If we don't get Hendrickson, I hope it's not to the Vikings or the Bears or somewhere. Like I can't deal with having Micah and Hendrickson in our division. It would be terrible.
It's an arms race in the North already. Yeah. Brian, what do you think? I mean, the Bengals. I mean, yeah, obviously had an interesting offseason. We talked a lot about them from a Lions podcast standpoint. But what's your take there?
So yeah, I would continue to say that it would be they're on the downward swing now without Joe Burrow. It would be tough for them to find their footing, and without, I mean, Hendrickson's like basically the only guy they have on defense right now. So without scoring a ton of points, they're not going to continue to have success in this league. So.
They finally got off to a hot start. They won 2-0.
Yes.
And then Joe Burrow gets hurt, man. Wow. Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd
Jacob,
call it a
you got
hot start.
any?
Yeah, they did start off 2-0, so that's better than last year, but they had the 16-17 win against the Browns. They had a close game against the Jaguars. The Browns game, their offense was stagnant. Like, they just were not doing anything. And especially these next few weeks are going to be very telling because they've got the game against the Vikings, which, we'll be rooting for the Bengals to win that one. And the Vikings have Carson Wentz going at quarterback. But then the Bengals have to play the Broncos. Then we play them. They play the Packers, the Steelers. I mean, they've got a difficult schedule. And I think that if they do lose these next 4 or 5 games, I mean, I don't remember exactly where the trade deadline is, but it's right around that point. I think if you have a losing record at that point, it's already a wash. You can move on. You probably hold Burrow out for the whole year. There's no need to bring him back. And you kind of, blow it up a little bit and go defense again in the draft.
Yeah, I think trade deadline usually like week 6, week 7.
I think they pushed it back. It might be like week 8 now.
That's what I was thinking is that it's the end of October now. But I don't know if that puts it at week 7 or 8.
It used to be so early, and that's why you would never see any trades because no one wanted to wave the white flag at week 6.
November 4th this year.
Oh, wow.
There it is.
Okay. So there's some time.
So that's after their week 9 game.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So early trend this season around the NFL, we've seen just some high scoring games. Like, were we watching football growing up with the ball half inflated? And because it just seems like scoring's way up, and this is a offensive league right now. Have you guys noticed that? And kind of what's your take there? Is it an arms race out there on the offensive side of the ball?
I think moving the touchback up to 35 makes a big difference. I think all the rules are geared towards the offense. And the other big thing is Dan Campbell changing the NFL and going for it on 4th down. Teams are not giving up possessions, and they're scoring more. And if they turn it over, just like the Bears went, we didn't score on this, but the Bears went for it on their own 37. I remember being as a kid, you would be on the other team's 40,
what are you doing?
40 yard, and you would go for it on 4th and inches. And now it's 37. They're like, nope, we're gonna go for it, even though we just failed on a QB sneak. So I think that is a big difference because you look, they gave out. You say, well, you're going on 4th down, they gave it up. Well, they gave it to the Lions in scoring position already, so they're already ready to score. So I think that's played a huge thing. And I'm wondering if they're going to have, if the teams are going to go for it on 4th down, do we have to even up the rules on defense to, with legal contact and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I think you're right there on point. And, if the NFL is going to continue to allow the offense, I mean, the offense is selling tickets. The offense is making things exciting. The offense is what brings fans in, right? I'm more of a defensive geared guy. I love a battle. I love hard hits. I love that kind of stuff, and it takes away a little bit. But I think that the reality is where we live now is an offensive geared NFL. So
Absolutely. So we're going to spend maybe the last two parts of the segment here talking on both ends of the standings here. And I'm going to design this a little bit more rapid fire. So I'm going to give you a name of a team in this segment, and they're going to be 0-2. And then you three in order. We'll start Brian, Jason, Jacob, because that's the way you appear on my tiny little iPhone over here. I got like an iPhone 6, I think. And you're going to give me your panic meter. 1 is not panicked at all, and 10 is like they should be really panicking. Okay, and so I'll give you the name, and then Brian put in here they're in the Manning sweepstakes for top. I don't think that Arch is. I think he's gonna have to marinate in college one more year if he wants to get his name that high in the draft. But
he makes more in college than he would make in the NFL.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And Arch, you can always podcast. There's a lot of money in this too. You can just crush it here.
Oh yeah.
So
Crush.
So we'll start. I got a list up, but I'm gonna kind of pull it out of order because I want some juicier ones at the end. So stay with us if you're watching. We're an hour in, man. You gotta stay with us. We got this. The Carolina Panthers. Brian, panic? No panic.
I think they're no panic right now because I think this was an expectation.
Jason,
we're each gonna do the. Okay.
You follow Brian. We're just gonna hit. We're just gonna hit rapid fire, baby. You don't have to give me a ton of.
No panic.
I'm gonna flip it.
That
I
would
say
be you,
panic.
Jacob. Okay. Quickly, why? Just
Because you've already seen what Dave Canales brings. You have Bryce Young. You didn't play they played the Jaguars and the Cardinals, not two, all-star teams. You weren't competitive in those games. I guess the Cardinals was more so than the Jaguars, but you just still don't look – it looks like you're gearing towards another top 5 draft pick. And how long does Canales have a job before you have to say enough is enough? We're not seeing enough change. If I'm a Panthers fan, I'm not seeing enough change. I'm not sold on the team at all.
Yeah, we talked about Ryan Poles, but they drafted Xavier Legette. I don't know if you watched. I saw some highlights or some bloopers from him this year. I mean, that looks like it's hard to call a guy a bust after 2 seasons, but it looks like a bad pick. Cleveland Browns, 0-2. Brian, panic or no panic?
No panic. I mean, they got the oldest quarterback in the history of quarterbacks, leading the realm right now, and I would say that they are what they are.
No panic because the expectations were extremely low and they're stuck in cap hell. So that's expectations. Jacob?
I guess I just need clearer instructions on what's panic or not panic because I'm saying panic again. I don't know what you're 0-2 right now. The same thing, your defense is okay. You held on with the Bengals. That's, nice moral win. You get steamrolled by the Ravens, which in a game that you were competitive in, but it doesn't get any easier if the Browns, you have a difficult schedule coming up. You also are looking at potential another top 5 pick. Kevin Stefanski has been the coach for way too long, I would say now. It's like the Hugh Jackson thing. They're just giving him every chance possible. He's had 2 good seasons. And
Stefanski didn't sign Watson. They let Baker Mayfield go. I mean, they just totally Browns this thing up.
Right. No, I 100% agree, but I mean, what are you going to... Are you looking at Kevin Stefanski and saying, we know we suck, we just need you to take the keys for a little bit longer? No.
Yeah.
We know the odds are stacked against you. We know the odds are stacked against you. We want you to make winning football. Here's chicken crap, make chicken salad.
They've screwed the pooch on this, and they don't want to get stuck like the Bears and getting a QB coach and a GM all at different times. They're just gonna do what the Browns do and what the Lions did for many years, play for that draft pick, and then just start all over again.
Blow it up.
So Jacob, there are no instructions, man. That's just how we roll. When Brian and I, when we taught our kids how to ride a bike, we no training wheels, at 2 wheels, we just kind of push the back of their seat down the hill and we just let them go, right? And so you got to take your social cues here, and you can run whatever direction you want to run. So maybe a little bit juicier one, or actually, you know what? Let's go back to another team in cap hell, the Saints. are we panicking there or no panic, Brian?
There's like I'm sleeping. That's how panicked they are right now. They knew this is what this season was gonna be. They're having a nap. They're gonna get up refreshed, and then go back to school. Go back to work on Sunday.
For anyone that doesn't think the cap is not real, this is what happens when all that bad decisions accumulate, and then you're stuck with Spencer Rattler as your quarterback. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I think they got into your Xanax, Rob, and they're just that whole franchise is asleep right now, and they want to wake up when they have money to spend.
Jacob's gonna say panic.
I'm going no panic on this one, right?
Okay.
No,
starting to
I'm
balance
sure,
that bike a little bit. Yeah. I'm proud of you, son.
Yes, Kellen Moore, I'm sure that they had this discussion. He already knew what it was when he took this job. It was going to be, it's rebuilding. This team is in a rebuild, right? So, I mean, this is kind of expected. We just want you to not embarrass us and look competitive. And they have. They've not, they're 0-2, but they're not getting blown away. And when you look at their roster, when you look what he's working with, they actually don't look terrible. I mean, I see this team winning a handful of games. No, they're not going to make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to embarrass themselves. And I just think that Kellen Moore is probably on like a 1-year trial, right? He's probably got to prove himself before he gets a second chance here. So there's no panic for me there.
A 1-year trial. That's a take. Okay. Let's get a little juicier here. The Giants. They got the quarterback savant, the whisperer. They're running out a guy that threw for a bunch of yards last year. They're kind of in a weird situation with Dart kind of waiting his turn, but they even mixed him in a little last week. Brian, panic or no panic?
I'm gonna get a little bit more panicky with the Giants, only because they're gonna make a change mid-season with their coach. Their defensive line is already being disgruntled. They want they have some good pieces in the Giants, and they want to keep those together as long as they can in order to get something good around them. So I'm going to go more panic here.
Oh, I'm panic. I'm Brian and I must be on the same thing. If
Yeah.
you go no panic, Jacob, I'm gonna.
You wait for it. You wait.
I'm waiting. You're up next, man.
Oh, you got no. Okay, yeah. So my thing with the Giants is they should have hit the panic button 2 years ago, right? When you got on John Mara talking to Joe Shane, I don't know if you guys saw that Hard Knocks offseason. He did not want to lose Saquon Barkley. He's like, I'll lose sleep if Saquon goes to Philly. Saquon goes to Philadelphia. Philadelphia wins the Super Bowl. You still give Daboll another chance. You give Joe Shane another chance. What more do you want? Yes, they absolutely should be panicking right now. I don't understand why they haven't moved on from them already. And I don't know how long they let this continue before they finally say enough is enough.
I love it. So we'll continue the juicy trend. The Chicago fighting Ben Johnsons. Brian, panic or no panic in Chicagoland?
If you listen to any podcast or look at Twitter at all, they're in full panic mode right now. They're trading Caleb Williams. Ben Johnson's a bust. All the things are coming out of Chicago. Chicago's not a let's just relax kind of atmosphere. That's not a media that you want to get into if you're not going to get into it right away. So
Chicago's seen this story many, many times. Failed highly drafted quarterback, failed offensive or defensive guru, however, whatever direction they go with, they hire some sort of coordinator and then, things don't work out. Yeah, full panic mode from them.
Full panic.
I don't think they should be. They're 2 weeks into a very complicated offense. However, can Caleb run that offense? That's where I'm panicking. And
he can run the first 10 or 15 plays of that offense, but beyond that.
That could change, though. I mean, he just got into it, and he might get more comfortable later on. That's why I'm saying. Like, internally, they shouldn't be panicking, but that city is in full panic mode.
Yep.
I mean, they had already won the Super Bowl. They were punching their tickets, and they won the NFC North and all that stuff after they had the offseason. But their offensive line, it doesn't look like a well, PFF had it graded ahead of the Lions at like number 3 or something like that, which is insane.
Yeah,
Sorry,
right,
Jacob,
right.
What do you got for Chicago?
Yeah, no. So if I'm the owner, the management, the coaches, I'm not panicking. I just know that we have to settle down. Things take time. But if you're the fans, obviously they're panicking. They can't take this. They're losing it already. They thought, that they had Super Bowl aspirations in year one. For whatever reason, they really thought they were going to be able to hang with us, and they got embarrassed. So I'm sure, especially with the last week's loss, that they are full blown out panic mode. They're wanting to see more out of Ben Johnson right away. They should not be, but they are in panic mode.
To be the quarterback in Ben Johnson's offense, you got to be a really kind of a cerebral. You've been in the battle. You can assess situations. Caleb Williams isn't that. He's an athletic, playmaking, improv kind of quarterback. So I don't know. Like it's like going to the club and you're looking for your future wife that you want to stay home and cook and clean and take care of the kids, and you find this lady at 1:30 a.m. with 3/4 of her clothes off, and she's taking shot, and they're like, you want to bring her home? Like, this is what you're going to get. So they're going to be in another situation here with another quarterback because they are continuing to do the same types of things over and over again. It's insane to me. So, what about the Chiefs?
I appreciate these references, Rob.
Yeah.
Welcome to passing time.
Yeah.
I'm 45 and married. I haven't seen the inside of a club in a very long time, but 3/4 of clothes off, I kind of want to go.
Yeah.
That's how Jason's wife found him.
Yeah.
I am like, Steve Carell, 40-year-old virgin. Just she gets in there, she's got to do the breathalyzer test to, drive home. I'm gonna
Drunk
put it in
because
her
I'm going to
trunk.
put my bike in that.
Hey, the times that this crew is at the club, the club is still cleaning up from the night before because nothing's going on at 3 p.m. in the club, and we're allowed our allowance of 30 minutes to go out. So
We're
You guys have
hitting
a nice
happy hour.
brunch?
We're hitting
That's
happy
what we're
hour,
looking
3
at.
to 5.
Right.
let's refocus. Let's go to the Chiefs. All right. Ryan, are you panicking there?
If I were the Chiefs, I'd be panicking. I'm not going to lie. I think the Chiefs are. I do think the Chiefs have reached their peak and are on a downward flow. Whether that means that they're still going to be a decent team, I think they're still going to be a decent team. They're still going to win games, but they're just not going to be the. I've reached the AFC Championship game the last 8 years, so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They shouldn't be panicking because they got Mahomes. What they should panic is when they stop getting the calls from the refs, and when that happens, they're done for. When they stop getting the phantom flags, or they start getting the flags like for false start and stuff like that. When there are things like they haven't drafted all that well, to be honest with you, and. So when you look at what we could be in the future, if you want to start mortgaging some draft picks or whatever, those are the type of things that you could see happening. So, not to bring this back to the Lions, but they should be a little bit worried. They won a lot of one-score games last year. I know they made it to the Super Bowl. They still have Patrick Mahomes, but they could. The Chargers look good too. That adds into that.
All right, yeah, I'm not
Jacob.
panicking if I'm the Chiefs. 0-2, but they were both competitive games to both good teams. Plus, outside of Xavier Worthy, you don't really have any injury or anything like that. You still have Mahomes, you still have Andy Reid, you still have the continuity of your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Your core is still there. I'm not panicking yet. I do think that for them and for the fans and everything, you see Travis Kelce losing a step. You start to worry, is the dynasty over? Or are we in the downward spiral? But I wouldn't panic just yet. I would say if they fall to the Giants, their next game is against the Giants on Sunday Night Football. And I think if the Chiefs lose that game, I think people will start to be panicking a lot more.
You didn't mention Rashee Rice as well. So, their primary target's out. Which is, it's a big difference maker. And guys, I didn't realize the list is so long for 0-2 teams. So I'm gonna cut it, but I'm gonna give you one more because this is the way I feel. I think Brian feels a little bit like this, but Ben Johnson is like, we're scorned lovers, man. I don't want to like get back together. I've deleted his phone number, but AG with the Jets, like I would, if things don't go right with the Jets, like, hey, whatever you got to do, you can come back and be part of this program. He's 0-2. Are you panicking for the Jets right now, Brian?
It's funny because the media is still New York, right? And so, but I think that AG is approaching this as a rebuild rather than we're going to be good right away. So I think that he has the understanding from the media, it's from the ownership, from the team, that we're not a contender here, and we're going to take our lumps until we can build something great. So I don't think they're panicking. No.
They shouldn't be panicking. And Brian, you said it right. I mean, AG's trying to build something, build it the right way. I think he's a great leader. And yeah, he's still our friend, until we lay 50 on him, right?
Nice. No, I'm not panicking if I'm the Jets. It is rebuilding. I mean, maybe because of how the first game went, they thought that they were going to be more competitive this year because they had a real close loss to the Steelers. Then they got kind of blown away by the Bills, kind of came back to reality. So I'm not panicking if I'm the Jets, but it is going to be a longer season. It does not look like you're a playoff team. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm going to skip the next 14 segments that were still on the board because I'm going to chop this thing right around here. Lots more to talk about. We were going to talk about power rankings for the upper echelon team. So we can punt some of this stuff forward. We're going to skip out on Bill because Bill's a roller coaster. Bill, I hope you're still watching this. Bill, like, come on, man, like just steady the ship a little bit, all right, with your takes. This is going to be an exciting week of football. There's some games here that are really going to start foreshadowing who are the contenders and who are the pretenders, who are teams that are potentially going to be selling if there is a kind of a NFL trade deadline sale, and who are some teams that like really are going to throw their name in the hat of up and coming, Super Bowl contenders. Anything else that you want to add to that, Brian?
No, I think you said it, man.
I love
Jason?
football. I love football, and I'm glad it's back. The only positive about the Lions not playing at 1 o'clock is I can watch Red Zone with my boys. We can follow our fantasy guy. It sucks to wait all to Monday, and then Monday at work is a long day waiting to get to the game. So that part sucks, but at least we still have Sunday, and I can watch all those games.
agreed. I have that routine too. Sunday, Red Zone, watching with the boys, checking your fantasy team, go outside, play football. I mean, it's just perfect way to spend Sunday. And then there's less pressure, when the Lions aren't playing. I'm not, keyed in as much. It's more relaxing.
Yeah, I love it. I love Jason's take too. It kind of reminded me of you started with "I love football." It was like "I love lamp," or the old quote. And Jacob, I love guys. These are Midwestern boys right here, but you do a lot of yeah nos, and I do that same thing. That's just so Midwestern. I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
you guys are awesome. They coach us through the technology on how to get this thing rolling. Brian and I are typically sitting side by side here. We're still working out the headphones and the differences here, but these guys have helped us. They've given us some bullet points along the way. We listen to their podcast. We actually probably steal half their content and deliver it to you guys. So if you want to skip the middleman, log in because they know their stuff. They're good friends of our podcast. We're here to support them, and hopefully we'll kind of do this again.
For sure.
If you guys can put up with both of us at the same time, that's tough. And Rob, you have to come on our show. I mean, now that we've got this technology thing worked out, we expect you to be on our show and not just Brian last time.
Let's go.
I would love it, but I know you're texting Jason Jacob under the table, like, get this fucking Rob guy off the podcast, man. I love it. I would love to be in the non-host seat too, because we're catching up, learning how to do this. But next time you do it, I'm in, and we appreciate the invite, and it's just fun hanging out with you guys. Too bad we weren't all sitting here singing Kumbaya at the end of the night like we typically do, but this was a lot of fun. Again, can you tell them where to find you? the
Yeah,
tens of people.
so on the day after game day, we go live on YouTube generally at 9 p.m. Like we've talked, we have kids, so it's after we put the kids to bed. Then we talk. So what we started this year is we're live on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, and so we'll do our regular game review, and then we end with an all 22 review at the end, and that usually goes on for another half an hour. So if you're in the chat with us, you could say, I want to see this play, and we kind of just it's not like super technical. It's like, oh, look what here. Why did this run get to the outside? It's there's a lot of this last week was why was DeAndre Swift beating us to the outside? Our linebackers were taking terrible routes, and it's kind of fun to just kind of walk through that. I love doing it with Jacob. Jacob points out things that I don't know, and then I'll see some stuff and have stuff queued up to show him. So we do that, and then usually it's on Wednesday nights, or this week it's because we play Monday. We do Fridays. Or Thursday. We'll release on Friday morning. We'll interview someone from the opposing team, either a beat writer, another YouTuber, another podcast, someone like that, and then we'll have their insights. And that's not a live show. We just released that, and you can find that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Cool. That's really awesome, and we're posting it right now where they can follow you. And we'll put it in the hashtags, and we'll be sure to make sure that we're getting the word out for you. So with that being
really
said,
technical.
very technical. Yeah, I mean, when you said Twitch, I'm like, is that what happens when you're 40 and your eyes doing one of these things? So I don't even know what that is, but I'm sure it's a great platform. But thanks for passing time with us. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, listen to our podcast, to their podcast. Go Lions, big Monday night game, and we'll be here next week. So stay gritty, my friends. Oh, no, actually.